Hello everyone! For this Music Talk Tuesday, I thought it would be interesting to address songs that reflect guilt and or apology. I guess you could also put shame in this category too as well of songs that I'm going to mention. I think this kind of emotion and aspect to music has sort of been emphasized, and I think it's something that is very powerful and reflects a lot of what has happened to various people who've been in these kinds of circumstances. So I think it's only fair to discuss some songs that sort of reflect this. Now, the first song that I'm going to briefly mention kind of doesn't really go the sort of traditional route of apology songs, and this song is called All Apologies by Nirvana. Now, the interesting thing about this song is how uncaring it sounds. There's a lot of passion, I think, that's put in a lot of apology um, and guilt-oriented songs. But this song sort of treats guilt as like, I'm not perfect. And I think that's kind of what Kurt Cobain gives off as he's singing the song, What else can I say, as he sort of says throughout the song, I am who I am, I make mistakes, and I apologize for them. But I'm me, and I think that's sort of an interesting kind of way of approaching an apology song, as opposed to the more traditional that is focused on putting in a lot of power and a lot of emphasis on the emotions. Instead, Kurt Cobain just sort of treats them as, it's only part of being human. All apologies. What else could I write? What else could I do? I'm human. I make mistakes, and I apologize for it. He just sort of treats apology, I think, in this kind of nonchalant way, and doesn't try to reinforce the emotion with, I think, a very power-driven song. But again, there are times within the song where it does sort of gains this momentum and sort of enhances itself through the feelings that maybe Kurt Cobain is going through. It's really hard to interpret this song in particular, I think, because a lot of people have drawn different conclusions as to what it means. But I think it's just interesting in its tone and how it just has this sort of relaxed feel to it, and it kind of just treats apology as just this regular sort of occurrence, and it's nothing huge. It's nothing really grand. It's just something that people have going through them throughout their lives, and what can you say, All apologies, So that's sort of how Kurt Cobain approaches the song, and I think that's sort of how the song approaches apology and guilt. It kind of treats it more as something that's just more of a regular occurrence, and not something that is super duper dramatic. Now, the next song that I'm going to address that discusses apology and deals with apology and is, again, focusing on being a little bit more traditional is Sorry by Buckcherry. This song has a similar genre as to Nirvana by being more rock oriented, but there is a lot of pain, in particular, within the vocalist's voice. You can see that he's really trying hard to express what he's trying to say, but then sometimes it just comes out sounding very it just sounds very painful, almost even for him to express what the song ultimately is about. And they're sort of in a there's a certain amount of uh, 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 responsibility, I guess, uh, that the song tries to present with Apology. Yogurt is fine, or cold. Yeah, we had both spaghettis. We finished it, yeah. Apologize, that was just my mom asking me what I wanted for dinner. But yes, this song really does focus on addressing that he knows that he can't change what he did. He knows that what he did is irreversible, and it's not something that he can undo. And it hurts him sort of that he can't undo it, and he can't change it. And I think there is this kind of longing to have not had these circumstances to begin with, to the point where he would have to apologize. But it just has this sort of powerhouse energy to it that I think is largely focused on this aspect of pain and of within the lyrics he says, and when I see you cry, it makes me want to die. Like, it just shows you how powerful of an emotion guilt and shame can be on a person, not really because of what they did, but the effects that it has on another person. And I think this song in particular really highlights that point. So it's definitely a lot different than the Nirvana song. Now, I usually don't address, I think, a lot of country in particular within my lists, but when I do, I always like to address ones that I think work. And this one, I think, really works. It's called Stay by Florida Georgia Line, and basically this is sort of a plead for forgiveness, sort of similar to Sorry by Buckcherry. And, again, there's the acknowledgement, too, that he did do something wrong, and also that he wants to make things right, and there's also this feeling that he wants to rebuild. I think Sorry just is more of an apology plea of, like, I really do feel bad for what I did. And Florida Georgia Line takes it a little bit of a step further by addressing more of this aspect of trying to build up what was lost by the person ultimately having to apologize, by saying, would me doing these things for you, would me, sort of so quasi saying that I love and care for you, would that be enough to let you know that I wouldn't want to hurt you like that again, and would it make you want to stay? And basically that's kind of what the song ultimately addresses, and he's very the vocalist, I think, does a really good job of expressing the emotions and really taking you to that place and showing you the real vulnerability that somebody has when they have to sort of make an apology. So I think that one hits it in a more extensive way than Sorry by Buckcherry does, but at the same time it still has all of the emotions and all of the feelings that sort of the Buckcherry song tries to address, but still unique with its own genre too, of having it be country too. And I think a lot of country songs are usually a little more geared to being more sad, so only makes sense. So that's one song, and the second to last song that I want to address is Yesterday by the Beatles. Now, usually people like to associate this song as something that reflects the day of the week, or something that happened, or just yesterday. And really the song isn't about yesterday, it's more of what happened yesterday. And basically Paul McCartney throughout the song sort of expresses his wishing that he didn't do something wrong, and wants to sort of correct the mistake by again saying, "Oh, how I long for yesterday." There's sort of a loneliness, I think, to his voice. This is the interesting thing about this song, is that it doesn't have sort of the powerhouse that the last two songs had, and it doesn't have the non-caring attitude that Nirvana has, but it does have this really lonely feel to it, I think. I think it really addresses this feeling of insecurity by making a mistake. And even the lyrics mention something to the effect of love was such an easy game to play, now I need a place to hide away. It's almost like there is this real shame that he has, and he really does feel this vulnerability because he did something wrong. And that's, I think, really a huge aspect that it hits home, because the other songs sort of address sort of the more the pain and the anguish of losing someone, and this sort of mood, I think, is more reflected in on loneliness and isolation, ultimately, because of a mistake that the person made. So that's, I think, something that's really interesting, and I think definitely worth considering when it comes to apologies and apology-oriented songs. Now, the last song, that I want to mention is called Apologize by OneRepublic. This song has a very sort of haunting feel to it, and it's sort of a reflection of, I guess, what can't be forgiven, because a lot of the other songs are more of a plea forgiveness, whether they be caring or uncaring, or reflect different sort of moods and are reminiscent of, or just reflect different genres too. This song focuses more on the person that is having to be apologized to. So the person that had something bad happen to them as a result of somebody else. So it does really flip the apology thing on its head, because usually a lot of apology songs are more oriented on the person who did make a mistake. And this one focuses it on the flip side and says, hey, what if we just look at this one person who, maybe is someone who has had something bad happen to them because another person hurt their feelings or something. And let's take that and basically have them sort of say their sort of back of, or say their voice sort of back to those who have brought on this sort of apology. Because again, in the song it does sort of mention that this person, I guess, that did hurt the other person is sort of trying to apologize, it seems like. But for OneRepublic, it doesn't matter. It's too late to apologize. It's there's no turning back. The mistake has been made, and it's sort of a song that reflects apology in the aspect of not being able to forgive the apology, whereas the other songs sort of appeal to the idea of accepting the apology and sort of returning to a state of maybe forgiveness, except Kurt Cobain's song, which I think is completely indifferent. But this song really does focus in on trying to nail in that idea of, apologies don't equate to me forgiving you. And I think it can be a struggle for some to maybe accept this kind of an apology song, because again, it's almost an apology song that says, I'm not going to accept your apology. But there does seem to be a lot of emotion that the person does go through and does feel when having something done wrong to them. And that emotion is just too strong for them to ultimately say, you know what, I can't put that behind me. This is just how it is. This is just the final straw. I can't take it anymore. I'm not going to forgive you. I can't do it. And I think it kind of could be a divisive thing morally, because maybe some people feel more, no, you should forgive people and blah blah blah. But this song does take itself to that level of saying, no, I'm not going to accept the apology. It's too late. You had your shot and you blew it. That's kind of what this song ultimately says in a nutshell. You had your shot, but you blew it, and you made a mistake, and this mistake is just too big. You know, you can't go around hurting people like this, and I'm not going to accept an apology from you. And I think this deals with apology and guilt a lot differently. Although I think the person who is singing the song does feel sort of that shame or that sadness that comes with being wronged, and it's sort of his response to the apology and guilt the other person might have is just by saying, no, I'm not going to deal with it, and I'm not going to accept what you have to offer as an apology, because that won't suffice, and I can't have you trying to have you apologize and try to have you get me back into your life, because you did something that has drawn me to the conclusion that I have to leave you, and I can no longer be with you in whatever capacity you want to put the song into. So I think, though, that's ultimately all I can say about all of these songs. I'll be sure to put links below so that you may all enjoy the songs. But I think that's really, though, ultimately all I can say about them. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you have all a pleasant day, week, month, year. And I hope to see you all tomorrow in the next video, where I'll be taking a fan request in regards to a book. And I'll also be taking another fan request the next week, and I'll sort of address that, though, on Wednesday's video when it comes tomorrow. But take care, and goodbye.